Hi everyone, I know it's Friday, so this is probably not the topic of the evening. However, I promise you I'm not trying to get you to endorse legacy systems. It's more about embracing the value that it currently adds and helping you take your business forward wherever you are in your maturity stage of decommissioning or digital strategy. So this topic will be of value for organisations, both large and small, and especially those who are reliant on a system that is no longer serving your wider strategy, your growth proposition, or your commercial success propositions or strategies. Or maybe you would like to keep some of your digital systems or legacy systems that are good, but unfortunately the system architecture is no longer able to serve the purpose that you as an organisation are trying to drive both locally and internationally. So by the end of this talk, you should be able to understand how a slight shift in your mindset, but also some of the actions you take will influence the technology strategy that you currently have and place you in a position to be agile and respond faster to the market. And for anyone who is completely over legacy systems in general, due to the havoc and pain it causes you, we can all create a therapy session after drinks and kind of cry about it all together. Okay, cool. So I'm going to tell you a bit about myself. I'm not as interesting as this picture looks, but I currently work at Equifax as a senior product and strategy manager. Equifax is one of the biggest and long-standing credit bureaus to date. It's a great organization, and I'm about 6 months old there, but I can confidently say it's a great company. We're also hiring, so I might tempt you for a drink or two as well to talk about how you can be a part of our team, which is full of social innovators. So my role is quite interesting. I get to create a culture that fosters a product-led and product-driven culture as well. We definitely are embedding products first as an approach, and I'm sure all organizations are doing the same. What's really, really interesting and quite fun about my role as well is I'm revamping and building Equifax product development process in the UK. So we want to ensure that innovation is a part of our pipeline, a part of our conversation, and our story each day. But yes, I'll give you a bit about myself, my history, so you understand why I'm actually talking about this topic. So in 2016, or a bit before that actually, I was on the path of becoming a clinical psychologist. So being in tech is very random, as my parents will say, but it worked out in the end. But in 2016, I was given a bunch of money by Santander to build out different really cool and scrappy MVPs in the tech, ed tech and childcare space. So I was able to use really, again, forward-thinking tools such as React, Google Cloud, GraphQL, and many other cool tools that allowed me to actually envision the product, work on the scalability of the product, not just thinking about the past, but also the future of it. So I definitely understand the flexibility that these products give you, and especially having a tech stack that allows you to build for the future is always the appetite of any forward-thinking organization that wants to take their business forward. So in 2017, I joined a startup that adopted the same approach, again, using tech stacks such as React, Google Cloud. We really stayed away from PHP, no offense to anyone who's using that. But again, it gave me the flexibility to build and create different value propositions that will take that organization forward. In 2019, that all changed. What felt like a joyous payday, leaving this session to attend to my Black Friday emails and checking on Amazon or ASOS or wherever I'm looking for the sales, slowly felt like an overdrive into Christmas. I don't know whether you've ever been to a store in January that is still playing the Christmas music. It's a bit painful and it needs to end. And when will it end is always the question I was asking myself. And that's how I felt about legacy systems. I was soon thrown into a deep end of this never-ending system that needed continuous maintenance, a little bit like a baby, but unfortunately it never stopped crying, and I'm sure that's how we probably all feel about legacy systems. So in general, organizations that have legacy systems, it's kind of the norm, it's our typical conversation. And if you are an organization that has been around for 15 to 20 years, the truth is that this product or this system was once the bread and butter of the organization. Unfortunately, these glorified systems are not as glorified as they once were. They no longer fuel innovation in your organization. They no longer drive the growth strategy and commercial success that it once did. And now it's actually working against us. But the truth is, the mentality of some of our organizations are a little bit stuck in the old times, which means we're still having to use systems that no longer serve the purpose we want to drive in our organizations. So everyone has, had an experience with one or two or a few of them. Hopefully it's not too many. But the question always comes up, what is next? What is next? And I'm sure that conversation became regular when you saw the likes of Monzo and Starlin stealing the spotlight in the scenes, when automation and robots became a part of our everyday conversation. What parts do we automate? What parts do we take out? Should we get robots? Should we not? Especially organizations that were building at scale but using very archaic tech stacks such as PHP. Again, I'm not having any biases against PHP. I just know that there are engineering conversations around that are not quite favoursome. But then comes the realization, we want everybody to survive. We want our business to survive. We want our business to disrupt and compete against other organizations or competitors in the space, but we have our legacy system. And what we need to understand is what a legacy system actually is, and here we've got it. So a legacy system is an old method, technology, computer system, or application program that is still in use. And sometimes this may prohibit our chances or the opportunity to scale and disrupt. And we also need to acknowledge what a legacy system brings to the organization. As much as I'm trying to change your perception about legacy systems, I think it's important to understand the current state of your organization and understand what it isn't doing and what it does do at the time as well. So, anything that is old, although it's operational, it may not be as optimized or advanced as other systems are. And I think it's really important during this time to understand what a legacy system does, but also some of the pains it gives you as a business. Why is this important? It's important because as much as we complain about some of these legacy systems, if your mindset is shifted around, a therapy session every week in some of those decommissioning conversations, it'll be very difficult for you to move away from the topic of why we shouldn't have it as opposed to what is next. We also have to acknowledge where we are in our journey. I think it's really, really important. By embracing our current state of our legacy systems, you're able to mitigate the operational risks. These are conversations that are typically not had in organizations, and I'm hoping that by the end of this session, you'll take that away. Resourcing risks is also super, super important, and I guess I'll go through each point and tell you how you can have a forward-thinking approach to mitigate some of the risks that may come up as you're decommissioning your systems or going through a digital transformation in general. So competition might be different as you begin to scale, but at the same time, your legacy system has the data. It has everything you need to be able to disrupt and move and do something different, but you're stopped, you're blocked. It's no longer a system that allows you to be flexible and do all the things you'd like it to do. But how can you fix it? The truth is sometimes you're not able to. But what you are able to do is start scoping out the tech stack that looks more favorable for your organization. What does the future look like for your organization? I think what I love about my role and my team and Equifax is the mindset. We're always thinking about now and later. And you can do the same. By developing your transformation roadmap will lead you to a path of innovation. Again, the therapy session, I'm all here for it after, when we close. But I think the most proactive and engaging conversation is about the next steps. High cost of maintenance. It's Q4, for everyone, one of the best and exciting times of the year. For others, not so much. Why? It's because we're talking about budgets. We're talking about roadmaps. We're talking about money. And sometimes these conversations can be painful, but again, a shift in the mindsets will help you shift the conversation and shift your focus into where your money should be invested. So, I'm sure you will know about keeping the lights on. For a legacy system, that's just a standard. But if we have a keep the lights on pot to ensure that whatever is working with our system is still active, to the point that we will be able to move away from it, is always a really encouraging conversation. Again, a legacy system is always short-term and it's short-lived. So the conversation should move around to what's next. How do we keep the lights on whilst building what we need for the future and future-proofing our strategy? The legacy mind is also very, very important. Sometimes, as old as our systems are, sometimes it actually reflects how we are thinking as an organisation. We need to be able to invest in training, in development, to ensure that when we bring on new tech, new people and new systems, they're actually in sync as opposed to conflicting with them. This is also important and an area that businesses tend to forget as well. The specialist, I think we've all been there. I'm hoping not all of you have. But if an IT specialist or somebody who owns the system, uses the system, built the system leaves, you're all screwed. So again, a part of your strategy to move away from your old systems is talking about the team, the future of resourcing. What does it look like for you? How can you ensure that you have the right people in place before somebody retires so a handover is smooth and sailing? I think it's also important to understand what sits at the core of embracing a legacy system, which might spark a desire to take questions back to your executives, to your engineers, to your product teams, to your team in general. Your organisation should be challenged if you're going to move forward to a better state. And again, it might be an area that presents a challenge, but I think it's something that you'll be able to do very easily. So, number one, investments. Again, as you can read here, a lot of the time, the investments that are spent are typically tied into shareholders' wins, what they would like to see, what they have already placed bets on. A lot of the time, it doesn't actually make it to the end, it's not launched, and that's not a problem. But it presents an opportunity for anyone who's in a line of influence to take the conversation back and present a different view. You may say, I'm down the food chain, You may say that I don't actually speak to my executives, but this is an opportunity for you to not only present a change to the organisation, but the biggest investment an organisation makes is in its people. So naturally, they are looking to you to innovate and create change. Number two, destructive contradictions. Many organisations say they want to change, they're excited to change, they bring in consultants, they have the conversation, but nothing happens. And as frustrating as this is, sometimes you have to take actions into your own hands. And again, this is not an aggressive approach, it just means rallying around people of influence, people who are bought into the idea of change to create that change as well. Similarly, your culture may not support an innovative and progressive change. And that's also okay. But in the famous words of my colleague, whenever I present a challenge, he says, just create it. I won't embarrass anyone today, but that's the culture we have at Equifax. That's why it's great. There's always an opportunity for you to change. So don't feel as though you are blocked. And of course, we have innovation. Innovation is at the end, it is the end goal for everybody. But the overuse and overkill of innovation means that sometimes we are desensitized. It's no longer about change, but what looks shiny, what looks great, and how quickly do we need it. But the most important question is, do we really need it? So the truth is, whilst innovation allows you to improve, be super productive, create competitiveness, and build out new partnerships, so can legacy systems if you start looking at its power. Start seeing it as a reliable pair of jeans. I think we always have a reliable pair of jeans. No matter how many times you put it in a wash, or no matter if you were attacked by finger paint during a kid's party, it will always return back to you the same colour. And it's a bit like that. If we start seeing a legacy system as a reliable pair of jeans, then I think your approach will be very different to how you use it. And like a legacy system, it's just that it's still in use. It doesn't mean we ignore the fact that it fails us sometimes, or maybe it doesn't perform as great as we would like it, or it poses different security challenges. These things are to be acknowledged and are to be addressed, but it means that the challenges will better prepare us for our transformation strategy. While we embrace, we should be preparing to move on and not to extend life. I think this is the most important thing. It's very easy to make so many extensions that you keep the legacy system there forever and ever, to the point where your organization is no longer recognized by its vision statement, but more as the problems that it incurs. But like any pair of jeans, they start to fray and create holes, and nobody likes wearing holey jeans. So we need to ensure that we acknowledge that it's still in use, we use it for what it's good for, but we plan for the future and plan to move away. So I'm going to talk about embracing, and what does that look like? We can acknowledge that organizations are in a stronger position to take action, respond to change at scale, and support the growing appetite that our company has. I think this is really important. A lot of the banks, for example, that have been around for 10 to 20 years, one of the things that have allowed them to be a major player in the game is their legacy system. It was built to perform, and it was built to actually inhibit and ingest data. The issue is the data is no longer flexible. It's no longer able to reach a mass audience and different types of personas. But that's not an issue that you can't solve. Number two, they have weight in data insights and international customer loyalty and brand exposure to dominate. I think what's really interesting about Monzo is, as much as everybody is trying to become the next bank, banks like Monzo or Starling are still not operating or are making as much revenue as the traditional HSBCs and NatWest. That shows its power, and that also shows the gap between the neobanks and the traditional banks. Number three, they can serve at scale. I think this is incredible. If you are in a position to actually rework your strategy and think about how you can move away from your legacy system, you need to also ensure that what was once working is what will continue in the future as well. And that being said, what outcomes can we actually drive to get the most value out of our legacy systems? And I'm going to take you through my mini open for business strategy. So firstly, we have to change our mindset. I know this can also be an overkill, but it's really, really important. And we need to remember that as an organization, we are still open for business regardless of the tech we have. The open shop means we are still running, we are still functioning, we are still operating. What means in the background is you use your time wisely to ensure that you are creating a strategy that is fit for all, fit for the future, and fit for the years to come. And extending the capabilities of your legacy system is just a short-term win. It shouldn't be seen as a long-term goal. It shouldn't push you into investing millions in it. But again, it should prepare you for the future. So I'll take you through my super R's. Of course, there is one E, so ignore that, but it's still the super R's. So number one, we have encapsulating, which is to leverage, extend the application features by encapsulating its data and functions and making them available as services via APIs. What this actually means is repurposing some of the existing products you currently have. A lot of the time, the focus is to move away, to decommission, and to get rid of. And whilst that is the end goal, what can you do to monetize some of your current or existing propositions? What can you do to actually take advantage of some of the customer data that you do have that still lives in that legacy system? Number two, rehost. You can redeploy the application components to other infrastructures, physical, virtual, or cloud, without modifying its code, feature, or functions. Again, this is super important. If you're in a position where your code is not dependent on, for example, being on the same system as it is originally, then you still have flexibility to move things along the line. Rehosting your code again makes you actually allows you to see, what the future holds. Again, it can also be used as a testing ground to understand what your existing customers want and don't want. Re-platform. So to migrate to a new runtime platform, making minimal changes to the code, but not the code structure. Again, this is important because your goal is not to enhance the legacy system, but to use what is available and hopefully move away from it. Refactor, one of our engineers' lovely favourite words, refactor code. It takes a lot of time, but again, whilst you have what you have, it's best to make it as best as it can be. So restructuring and optimizing your existing code where possible. Again, you don't want to put too many resources into it, but whatever the customers are using, whatever is being monetized quite strongly, this is your chance to make it better. Whilst you do have it, it's important to make it best for your customers and increase the customer experience where possible. Re-architect. So materially alter the code to shift to a new application architecture and exploit new and better capabilities. You will never really know what's inside if you don't look in. And I think that's because a lot of people have given up on the legacy system without actually seeing what it can offer. Again, it was built with the intention to do well and to scale, so I'm sure there is many secret capabilities that your legacy systems do have to offer. And finally, rethink. This is the most important thing. You should be able to rethink your innovation strategy and embrace your legacy system whilst it's there. The truth is, it won't be there forever, so whilst you do have it, rethink your new innovation strategies. Rethink your 2022 strategies, bearing in mind some of the havoc that you've experienced, bearing in mind the areas that have been blocked or stopped you from presenting new opportunities to your customers. By rethinking, you put yourself in a reset. You pause the busyness of thinking about things and allow yourself to do what the customer would like you to do. So that is my time to close, and if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to throw them at me. But yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We've got a couple of questions from Slido. The first one is, were legacy systems behind the 2017 Equifax data breach? How has new tech helped make Equifax data more secure?
Could you repeat that question? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Were legacy systems behind the 2017 Equifax data breach? How has the new tech helped make Equifax data more secure?
Right. Oh yes, my CPO is here, by the way, so he will take that.
Okay,
yes.
That's fine.
There we go, no
Then
comment.
we can go to the next question. How difficult is to convince seniors to work on legacy systems?
I think if you're in an organization that paralyzes your ability to speak, naturally it will be very difficult. So again, it goes back to my earlier point. You have to rally around people of influence, people who speak to the executives or have connections. If that's your only option, I would start there. But again, you should continue to speak until you see a solution. It's difficult for others because some of their internal structure doesn't allow the fluidity of conversations to progress. But again, finding people who are bought into the problem, finding people who are in a position of influence, paired together should move the conversation forward.
Okay, thank you very much. What about building a roadmap for the legacy system that then can be merged with the roadmap for the innovative system? Do you guys work in a parallel way, or the things are separate in your organization?
That's a good question. I think, like all organizations, when you're building or decommissioning a system, naturally you should actually build a system that is available for all your products. You would never build a data system that is for one. You would normally have a data warehouse that stores everything, but its system architecture will allow for all products to feed back into it. So that should be the approach any other organization should take. It should never be siloed, because again, it will be very difficult to optimize, and then it will have difficulties in looking after all the existing products that sit on that system as well.
Okay, that was it. Is there any question from the audience? Okay, thank you very much.
No worries.